What's up, desktopers? Xavier Wills here for Desktop Bodybuilding, and in this video we're discussing Shaun Clarida, your 2020 212 Olympia champion, clearing the air on some rumors that he's doing the Open at the 2022 Mr Olympia and not the 212s, and he states what his decision is and where he's at right now with that decision, and is there the opportunity that he'll actually do both at the 2022 Mr Olympia. All that plus much more coming up in this video, guys. I hope you enjoy it. What's up, desktopers? Now let's get straight into this one. So Shaun Clarida, your 212 Olympia champion from back in 2020. Obviously he came second last year as well to Derek Lunsford, who's making that move up most likely, at least from everything we're hearing and everything we're seeing. By the way, this guy's looking at still over 250 pounds, as he mentioned in an interview with Ron Harris just over the weekend at that Tampa Pro, where he's there watching the contest. Still 252 or so pounds, he confirmed after Ron Harris said that. So it seems unlikely that Derek Lunsford's making the comeback to the 212 and defending his title there. So it really leaves the 212 Olympia wide open. So I sort of assumed that Shaun Clarida would come back and, be the favorite to win that 212 Olympia title, regain the title, and that is a huge achievement. I think the prize money from memory was around $40,000. Obviously only 10% of what the Open Pro winner, which is $400,000, what they get over there. So there is the incentive obviously to go to the Open for Shaun Clarida, because there could be more money that he makes, but through sponsorship and whatnot you can actually make more money probably by winning the 212 Olympia and doing that. But Shaun Clarida's come out and he's cleared the air. So he put up this post where he looks absolutely enormous in I assume it's a recent physique update as well, because he sort of looks like that sort of percentage of body fat right now, which is not a lot. And he looks extremely huge, and I don't know if I've seen him this big in prior years, but he says, "Let me clear the air. I have not announced or made a decision on whether I'm doing either 212 or Open at the Olympia. And the option of doing both is not off the table, as I'm waiting a final decision from the IFBB and the committee on that. So unless it comes directly from my mouth, it's all hashtag fake news." But he put hashtag giant killer, hashtag no plan B, hashtag stop the rumors, hashtag you don't know, hashtag misinformed. So this comes out after Ian Valier appeared on Olympia TV, and he said Shaun's doing the Open, all that sort of stuff. And he said, "Oh, I'm 92% sure." And he did say, "Don't quote me on that." So I do want to mention that as well, because obviously he sort of said it and maybe goes, maybe I'm not right on this. Maybe I thought I heard it, or heard it from someone who said, oh, they spoke to this person or whatever. Because in bodybuilding, like even being in my position, I actually heard the same thing. I heard that Shaun Clarida is doing the Open. Someone told me privately, and these sort of rumors go around. It might have started from someone talking to someone and they got it slightly wrong, and then it just sort of spreads through the community and everyone goes, oh, well, Shaun's doing the Open. And that's actually not the case. And he spoke, with Brett Wilkin as well. So I got to put that in my video when I actually put that up, that Brett Wilkin said, look, I spoke to him on the weekend. He said he's still undecided, and I don't think he's lying about it. So that was great to get that perspective of Brett Wilkin. But I actually didn't reach out to Shaun Clarida and ask him personally, which I actually intended to do. So I had to get the video out quickly. And actually, while I found out the information, I believe he would have been asleep because it's the middle of the night. I did actually intend to send him a message. I should have done it, definitely. But I did think initially, I was like, look, even if he hasn't announced it, he's not going to announce it through Desktop Bodybuilding. He's going to announce it through his channels or his sponsor or something like that. So you sort of think as a reporter, what's the point of actually asking the guy? He's probably most likely not going to want to announce it through your channel, but I should have asked and said, hey, look, are you undecided? When are you making an announcement and whatnot? And say, hey, I'm still going to report what Ian said, but I can say, look, you said that you're still undecided. I should have done that, definitely. So I actually sent Shaun a message and basically apologized that I didn't reach out to him before or straight after doing that video as well. So I have reached out to him, and I think he's seen it, but hopefully I hear back, because I'd love to get Shaun on the channel as well for another interview, and he's a really stand-up good guy as well. So guys, I want you to let me know where you think he'll fit in at the 2022 Mr Olympia if he does decide to do the Open. And honestly, I think this guy should be able to do both, because he qualified for both. He earned it. I said that to Shaun in my private message. He did the Legion last year. He qualified for the Open. And really, they say, it's the rules. Bob Chicarillo said it in a recent video on Dennis James's podcast, the Menace podcast. And he basically said, well, why can't he do both? Because he qualified. He said, well, that's the rules. He can't do both. But for me, I think in situations like this, the rules really should be changed. But I do understand on the side of that, taller guys don't have the opportunity to do two divisions and make two lots of money that the shorter guys do. So maybe guys that are 5'4" that are probably pushing on that 212 pounds that 5'4" tall, like a little bit taller than Shaun, they could potentially do really, really well in both. So we could see one guy potentially win both the 212 Olympia and place extremely high in the Open and get, a $40,000 paycheck and maybe a $150,000 paycheck at some stage. That definitely could happen. I mean, it's hard to imagine a 212 guy doing, top 3 or top 2 in the Open. But if you get a guy that's 2 inches taller than Shaun Clarida, that looks exactly like Shaun Clarida, just obviously taller, and fills that 212 out, to the maximum, that sort of guy could win a Mr. Olympia. So we could have a guy that wins the 212 Olympia and the Open Olympia in the same year. We don't know who that guy is right now. I can't see him on the circuit. I mean, obviously Derek Lunsford was doing, the 212, and I don't believe he would have been able to win the Open Olympia weighing at 212. I think he would have been probably 6th or somewhere in there, maybe 5th, who knows. But I don't think he would have been cracking that sort of top 2, top 3 sort of position. So I think he's just maybe a little bit too tall. If Derek Lunsford was an inch shorter, maybe it'd actually work better for him because he's able to fill out a little bit more and actually look a little bit bigger, which is unusual to say to a guy that's, 5'5", maybe 5'6" at best. So because I want to get your guys' opinion, I want to look at who's qualified for that 2022 Mr. Olympia in the Open already, because if he is able to do both, he definitely will do both as well. And if he is, if he does have to pick one, he may still choose Open. We don't have an answer on that as well. So let's look at who's qualified. So we have Nick Walker, Nathan D'Asher, Big Ramy, Brandon Curry, Hardy Chupin, Hunter Labrada. Can Shaun Clarida beat any of those guys? That's straight away 6 names. I think he can, but I don't know if he will. And I don't know if I'd pick him to beat any of those guys as well. Then we've got Regan Grimes, Samson Dowda, Rafael Brandao, Angel Calderon, who's actually a 212 guy as well, who's qualified for the 212 and the Open. So if they do allow Shaun Clarida to do it, I assume we're going to see Angel Calderon in both the Open and 212 as well. Joel Thomas, William Bonac, Blessing and Waterloo, Charles Griffin, Mo Shaban, Hassan Mustafa, Mohamed Al-Ansor, Vita Boff, you got Andrea Presti, Ian Valier, and Antoine Vaillant. Now, it's a very, very stacked, solid lineup, and I haven't heard of names dropping out of the Olympia so far, at least anyway, and hopefully we don't see too many dropping out this year. And then guys on points that may qualify for that Olympia as well, you got guys like Steve Kuklo, Quentin Araya, and a whole bunch of other names as well. So when you look at it, I mean, put Shaun Clarida into last year's Olympia lineup, I think he'll probably place better there than he would in this year's Olympia lineup, because I think this year's Olympia lineup is more stacked. But like I said, we have names drop out every year. It happens. Like, I'm sure we're going to have 2, 3, maybe even 4 names drop out of this Olympia lineup that we have so far. But let's look at last year's Mr. Olympia. So for 2021 Mr. Olympia, you've got obviously Ian Valier in 7th, you've got William Bonac in 6th. I actually did a comparison as well with Akeem Williams from last year's Mr. Olympia, who placed 9th, and also Mo Shaban, who placed 10th, because I thought he'll match up sort of well with them. Maybe he might, finish behind them, maybe he might beat them. I did a scaled comparison and actually had Shaun Clarida beating both those guys. So that would put Shaun Clarida up into 9th, and then you had Justin Rodriguez one spot ahead of him. Can he beat Justin Rodriguez from what he brought to the Olympia last year? Quite possibly, because I didn't actually think that, Shaun Clarida would actually be ahead of Akeem Williams, at least when I sort of did them pose by pose. And I only went pose by pose. I didn't rate who won what pose by how much and all that sort of stuff. But I did have Shaun Clarida coming out on top of those guys. But would he beat a Justin Rodriguez in 8th? Would he beat an Ian Valier in 7th? Would he beat a William Bonac from last year, mind you? I'm not talking about the one that showed up at the Arnold Classic in the Boston Pro. I'm talking about the one from last year where he's a little bit downsized. Would a Shaun Clarida beat that? I don't think so, because they are sort of close in terms of their looks, in terms of their height and all that sort of stuff. Now, William Bonac is I'd say a taller version of a Shaun Clarida. They are very similar. They do have round, bubbly muscle. Now, I think the way, William Bonac's improved this year, it'll be very, very hard for Shaun Clarida to beat him. No knock on Shaun Clarida, because he's maximising that physique. So guys that I don't think Shaun Clarida will beat at the 2022 Mr. Olympia at least are Nick Walker. I don't think that's a possibility. Big Ramy, I don't think that's a possibility unless Big Ramy really misses it. Brandon Curry, so that's 3 names already. Hardy Chupin, I think they're just too similar in terms of conditioning, and I just don't think Hardy Chupin will miss his mark. Hunter Labrada, I mean, if Hunter misses it, which I don't think he will, I don't think Brandon Curry will grossly miss his conditioning. He's been doing it for too long. I think Hunter will be better than last year, so I don't think he'll beat Hunter, but there is a chance there. I say a very, very light chance if Hunter really misses it. So you got 5 guys there already. You got Samson Dowda, who I think is going to be outrageous at this year's Mr. Olympia. You've also got Nathan D'Asher as well, who's a 7th place Mr. Olympia, who, you probably got to pick him over him as well, even if, he does have a chance. You got William Bonac. You're looking at, not counting Nathan D'Asher and just say don't count Hunter as well. You've already at like 6 guys, maybe 5. Then you got Ian Valliere, who you can factor in there as well. You know, can Shaun beat an Ian Valliere? I think it's very unlikely just because of the size of Ian Valliere, but it's possible. It's definitely possible. When you got a Steve Kuklo, can Shaun beat him? I think he can, because Steve isn't overly separated. He is absolutely enormous, so that would be a very, very interesting comparison. And most of the time, I'd probably have to pick Steve, but you never know, because Shaun Clarida comes in bursting full. He's absolutely shredded to the bone. He maximized that physique, and it's very hard for the judges. But we did see at the Legion, you know, it was such a big size discrepancy, you know, 100 pounds between Sergio Oliva and Shaun Clarida, but the quality was with Shaun Clarida, and the judges liked that. I think he got straight first at that Legion Pro as well. So that showed us that actual height probably isn't going to matter as much, but Shaun Clarida was much harder than, you know, Sergio Oliva, and also obviously Regan Grimes. I think Regan finished in second of that show as well, and he's in pretty decent shape too. So it goes to show that, you know, that actual size discrepancy isn't maybe as big of a factor as we might actually think as well. And then you've got Quinton Araya as well, and a whole bunch of other names that are yet to qualify for that 2022 Mr. Olympia that might be able to qualify and jump in there as well. But I want you guys to let me know what you think in the comments below. How would Shaun Clarida have done at last year's 2021 Mr. Olympia? How would he do at this year's 2022 Mr. Olympia? What sort of names would you have him beating, and which ones would you have beating him? Also, should Shaun Clarida be allowed to compete in the 212 and the Open at the 2022 Mr. Olympia? Should it be an exception for Shaun Clarida, or should Angel Frias Calderon be allowed to compete in the Open and the 212 as well, as he qualified for both too? Anyway, let me know on that all in the comments below. If you like this content, give the video a thumbs up, smash that like button, also subscribe and hit the notification bell button. That way you'll be notified of every video that goes up for myself, Xavier Wills at Desktop Bodybuilding. Anyway, for myself, Xavier Wills at Desktop Bodybuilding, we are out.